This is the Tigers Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Detroit Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It is August 3rd, Sunday Night Baseball. The Tigers lose to the Phillies and lose the series. Welcome into a live Locked On Tigers Postcast. I am your host, Jake Rietma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Rietma. And I am filled with envy, jealousy. I am so jealous of the Philadelphia Phillies. I hate to admit it. That might be what tonight's show is going to be about. We'll talk about the Tigers getting shut out. We'll talk about the lack of offense, wasting good starting pitching. And how about a closer that gets the crowd going? What an electric atmosphere it looked like in Philadelphia. And I admit, I am jealous of the Phillies and a depressed Tigers fan. So buckle up, dial it in. Your comments always welcome. And as a reminder, this is the Locked On Tigers Postcast. It's your post-game instant reaction show, all part of the Locked On Tigers Network, your team each and every day. Free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Shout out to the real ones that tune in to the reaction show post-game and the daily show with Scott Bentley on Locked On Tigers. Make sure you like and subscribe. This is as frustrating of a weekend as I can remember as a Detroit Tigers fan. And I'm going to do the whole you get 24-hour thing, except expand it into a series. This is the last time I'm going to talk about the trade deadline. But you've got an anemic offense that has no life. You've got a bullpen that was exposed once again this weekend on Friday night's game. So we're just talking about this whole series as a whole. AJ Hinch using 5 other bullpen arms before he uses a single new addition. Now, that said, maybe some good. Maybe we'll balance out the emotional reaction with what we saw from Charlie Morton tonight. And in fact, let's go ahead and make that our biggest talking point.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Keep yourself from jumping off a bridge or running into traffic as a Tigers fan. Okay, I probably shouldn't joke about that, but you get the idea. Let's talk about Charlie Morton, one of the the trade deadline acquisitions for the Tigers. What a debut. 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run. He struck out 6. He was fantastic. And it's the second time this series where the Tigers' lack of offense wastes a really good start. And, you know, maybe you could say in the Jack Flaherty game on Friday night that it wasn't necessarily a lack of offense down the stretch, and it was more the bullpen's fault if we're doing the finger of blame game. But tonight, just no other explanation other than the domination of the starting pitcher for the Phillies and Christopher Sanchez. And it was a national broadcast, so that's what's going to be discussed at length of how good he's been. And I understand he's got one of the best changeups, and it's been phenomenal. But to sit there and just be mowed down by this guy like he's a Cy Young Award winner, the Tigers do this all the time. They make guys look like they're Cy Young winners. Now, again, Sanchez, phenomenal resume of production this season, 10-3, but 8 innings, 5 hits, 0 earned runs. He struck out 6. I think at one point, he was heading for the Maddox, the complete game shutout in under 90 pitches. He was so dominant tonight. It looked like Tigers, one of those games, it feels like the Tigers are just prone to them where this offense 1 through 9 disappears. They don't even look like they have a pulse. And so it's frustrating when you take what transpired at the trade deadline, how cautious Scott Harris and the entire front office and organization was, afraid to make a move, afraid to try to win now and not believing in windows and all about the future. I understand all that. And again, this is the last we're going to talk about it, but this weekend just encapsulated all of our frustrations with a lack of offense today, bullpen blowing the game yesterday. And it's almost so telling it hurts, because what do we say about this team? I guess we can win games when Skubal pitches, but other than that, you don't feel really good about the Detroit Tigers. And what do we see this weekend against a fellow first place team? Other than when Skubal pitched, the Tigers don't win. They fall in 2 of 3, and tonight it was about the offense getting completely blank. Now I'll play devil's advocate for a second, to be fair, that Sanchez deserves a lot of praise, and we've given him a lot of praise. But again, imagine there being one more bat you have to deal with in that lineup. And I just hate the explanation of, oh, we believe in our guys. It's not believing in your guys to go out and get another bat. That's the stupidest explanation to say, oh, we don't need any more good players because we believe in our guys. You can believe in our guys and still go after really good players. Do the Mariners believe less in their guys by bringing in Suarez? Absolutely not. And so, again, this is the last weekend I'm going to harp on the trade deadline, but rubbed me the wrong way. I love this team, and I just feel so depleted as a fan of the Detroit Tigers. And this weekend was just emblematic of all of my biggest worries and concerns with the team we have moving from the trade deadline into crunch time down the stretch and into the postseason. In the AL Central, probably. But after that, man, I just had such high hopes and expectations for this team. And I'm not punting on the team the way the front office did. I'm not giving up the way the front office did. I'm still going to root for them, be here after every single game to recap what we saw and give you the live instant reaction. But again, this one, it just feels like salt in the wound. And this weekend was just a perfect picture of who this Tigers baseball team is right now. They're not capable of competing with the elite teams in baseball. The only time they're going to win a game is when Tarek Skubal's on the mound, and they have a bullpen that's an Achilles heel, and they have a group of starting pitching that's very good, but without the ability to consistently produce runs. What do you have? A 2-0 loss on Sunday Night Baseball. And let me just, again, I'll add the Phillies, how jealous I am of them for the decisions they made at the deadline and bringing in Duran, the closer. And I put this on Twitter, but the electric introduction. I mean, who can remember when Joel Zumaya would come running in and the crowd would go absolutely insane at Comerica Park? And same with Valverde and everybody. And imagine having, and I know Valverde had his struggles, but just the excitement of the closer aspect to it. But I'm not going to dog Kyle Finnegan because he looked good in his one appearance for the Tigers yesterday. But the electric atmosphere for the Phillies at home tonight just reminded me of some of those Tigers teams that I felt like this team could have been. I felt like this team could have been that. And I'm not going to blame it all on the trade deadline and their shortcomings there, but they're certainly not, as a first place team, you don't feel the same way you feel if you were a Phillies fan or if you were a fan of even the Astros and some of the other teams in the American League leading their divisions. It just feels like this team's a bit stale right now. There's a lack of momentum, and which is kind of crazy when you look at the body of work. And maybe it's just me. I haven't read the comments yet. I'll pull them open. Maybe I'm just being a little dramatic here, but you look all around baseball and the Tigers have actually, I mean, they've played some pretty, I know the losing streak was really tough, and it was when I was on vacation, still watched the games and whatnot, and they lost, 12 of 13, but I mean, they're 5-5 in their last 10. And before the loss here, they had rattled off, 4 in a row prior to the opening Friday night loss to the Phillies. So it's a long-winded way of saying it's a roller coaster, but tonight was really frustrating. And this whole weekend series was really frustrating. Obviously, yesterday, the win. But let's get into some of these comments. Demetrius McNeil, change up. Has the Tigers offense disappeared? Come back next game. This is from Robert Denduven. You won't win by leaving runners in scoring position. No clutch hits tonight. This team has wasted 2 good starts from Flaherty and Morton this past series. Indeed, they have. That's a really good point. And as far as the Tigers hitting with runners in scoring position, that's 0 for 5 on the night. Rich Pasella says, walked into an ambush with no bullpen versus a loaded pen. Nothing to hang your head about. But if you have World Series aspirations, you are kidding yourself. Harris is going to have a long winter ahead. Yeah, I mean, I think, Rich, if I'm picking up what you're putting down, like, this isn't a bad Tigers team, and you can win a subpar division like the American League Central, but there's a clear separation between right now, and obviously this is all subject to change, but there's a clear separation between the elite and then the upper echelon, where Tigers are an upper echelon team in Major League Baseball, but they don't strike fear in the opposition, whereas you get to the ninth inning against the Phillies, you know the game's over. And I know the Yankees have had their struggles. But again, I said this on yesterday or Friday night's postcast. At least they went for it. At least they tried. And I guess you could say the Tigers tried too by just getting a couple of old veterans that nobody wanted. And for Charlie Morton, I know the analytics would certainly suggest maybe there's some more in the tank, but it's the guy that started 0-7, had an ERA like north of 10. So I don't care how good he's been recently. That's still a sample size from this season. And I'm not dogging Charlie Morton. I want him to continue to be great like he was tonight, but let's call a spade a spade. The fact of the matter is Scott Harris did not take any major risks and give up some prize prospects for some really heavy hitters at the deadline. All right, Gary Myers, AJ, do you even know what a bunt is? I can't stand the fact that you never, ever bunt. I'm sorry. Last time I checked, it's part of the game. This lineup is going nowhere in the playoffs. Swing and miss. Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that. Andy Ibanez at bat in that inning. The Tigers actually had a chance to score. And later in the program, how about that? This is from Javi Baez Prods. Tigers can't hit anything above 97. Gary Myers says, great job by Morton. Impressive indeed. Tina Schaefer's man that hurts with the crying emoji. M. King, lineup needs some adjustments. Gray matter. One of these teams was built to get into the playoffs. The other was made to be a World Series contender. Best comment. There it is. Gray matter. Appreciate that. That's just exactly how I feel. Johnny Bryle says ESPN talked like Phillies have a better record. Talked a lot more about them. Not surprised. On a positive note, Tigers won't have to face Duran in the Twin Series. Yeah, there we go. That's the positives. When we play those crappy teams in our own division who sold all their good players, maybe we can stock. And I'm not getting mad at you, Johnny. I think it's a good point. I just am frustrated at the night overall. All right, who do we have next? We got Stewart. I'm good on this BS dead offense. They had as many hits as the Philly. I still watch the other guy, but I'm good on this dude. See ya. Oh, there we go. I mean, that's my fault. Sorry, Stewart. Hate to see you go. Javi Baez Prods. I love Javi, but he needs to start using common sense. Nobody is throwing him strikes because he does damage on them. Last at bat, he didn't see a strike. Yeah, that's what people did to Javi the last couple of years. They just knew he had no plate discipline. So there you have it. And as for Stewart, again, hate to see you go, and sorry if the reality of the situation and being real rubbed you the wrong way. It doesn't take away how much I love the Tigers, but Sean Gray wants to know, how does Vierling lead off under 500 OPS? A small sample size, right? We're still waiting for Matt Vierling to return to 2024 form. I'm not sure if he will, but let's take a quick break and continue on. Rodney Morgan says it best: enough complaining about the trade deadline. That's right. It's not going to change anything. So it ends now, and we're going to do the FanDuel style of dance on balloons and fuzzy wuzzies and happy, and everything is great. That's coming up next on Live Locked On Tigers postcast, because reality is not where we want to live. Hey, this episode of Live Locked On Tigers postcast is brought to you by our good friends at 5 Hour Energy. It's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. So whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, it's a hole-in-one for your energy game. And let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. Everybody loves making memories on the course. One of my favorite things to do with buddies. And you know what makes it better? Feeling energized while you're making those memories. Golf is all about the good times with great people and great flavors, of course. The grape, ginger, lime gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5 Hour Energy shots Today. This episode of Live Locked On Tigers Postcast is also brought to you by our good friends at FanDuel. Great thing about FanDuel, it's America's #1 sportsbook. And anytime you need to see what's going on with FanDuel, it's real easy. Just head over to FanDuel.com to make it all happen. It's the best way to place your bets because let me just tell you, it's that time of the year where you just can't get enough sports. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game while your friends are out there getting sunburned on the beach like a bunch of losers. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or just visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right. Appreciate everybody tuning in to a live Locked On Tigers postcast after a 2-0 loss to the Philadelphia Phillies. Tigers now 65-48, 29-27 on the road. Do want to give some shout outs to the defense that was played tonight. My Riley Greene. Got to give him some love, man. That was one of the better catches you will see. He had a second one in the game that was also kind of Superman style. That was really neat to see. But, man, he was really good defensively this entire series. Of course, he had the diving catch on the track in foul territory as well. You had Wenceel Perez make an amazing catch up against the wall in foul territory, and then kind of played one into another diving catch, but he started back and then came forward. But the defense was phenomenal for the Tigers. So can't score runs, but hey, that defense was awesome. All right, let's go ahead and get into our biggest turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
All right, I want to be fair to Sanchez, who just threw a whale of a game, Christopher Sanchez, and give him his flowers. We'll do that. However, this is not taking anything away from him. But when you look at the Tigers' best opportunity to score with runners in scoring position, Andy Ibanez at the plate, and instead of finding a way to get the ball into the outfield, Andy Ibanez grounds out to third. And what do you see? And of course, this is in the 7th inning, but Ibanez grounding into that fielder's choice with Jahmai Jones getting thrown out at home. And Jones did the best he could to try to get in the throwing lane of the third baseman for the Phillies, but it was just a phenomenal defensive play. However, the inability to get that ball into the outfield. That's all you had to do there. And I know I say all you had to do, but that's clutch hitting. You needed a productive out from Andy Ibanez there. And you just knew it was going to be the Tigers' only chance to score the way this game had been going. And so Ibanez's inability to get that run home is where this game changed. Let's go ahead and get into our player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
It's Christian Sanchez because he was heading for a complete game. And I am very curious if the Phillies hadn't recently acquired Duran at the trade deadline, would they have let Sanchez go the whole game? Because, I mean, that pitch count was in no way a concern. I mean, he was through 8 innings, Sanchez was rather in 84 pitches. That's insane. 58 of them strikes. He was just attacking the Tigers hitter, and there was nothing they could do about it. So he's your player of the game. Tigers dropped 2 of 3 to the Phillies. Got to get back at it tomorrow. You know how this goes. Tigers will be back home taking on, I believe, let me make sure, the Minnesota Twins. Indeed, they will. Casey Mize on the bump. And then we get to see Chris Paddock on Tuesday. Day game Wednesday will be Jack Flaherty. So looking forward to that. And listen, I'm sorry. I'm not normally a negative guy. I love you guys, and I've worn my heart on the sleeve the last couple of episodes, and I obviously clearly turned some people off. So if I need to be more vanilla about stuff, I can do that, but it's an instant post-game reaction show. So you're going to get the instant post-game reaction. So not giving up on this team by any means, but again, just the timing with everything, with the lackluster deadline parlayed into a big weekend series against another first place team where your flaws, the Tigers' flaws, were on full display. And it just drove me insane this weekend. So everybody get a good night's sleep. I'm talking to myself here. We'll get a good night's sleep, and then we'll be back at it. Tigers back home, taking on the Minnesota Twins. Hey, how about a sweep? That sounds pretty good. We're going to stay positive. We need a sweep against the Minnesota Twins, and it starts with Casey Mize. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. There's not much left to it with the Sunday Night Baseball game, but appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll see you next time on a live Locked On Tigers postcast. Make sure you like and subscribe. Good night.